Good afternoon, everybody. It's Afternoons LALATE. Your $1,400 third stimulus check started to land today for veterans. Great news across the board. And the remainder of veterans who haven't gotten your $1,400 third stimulus check will land tomorrow. Meantime, your monthly reoccurring fourth stimulus checks got a strange push today, ironically, as Wall Street thought that the reopening play of this economy may be stalling because of the Johnson & Johnson news. We started the day with strong economic news with this consumer price index number, CPI, coming in very, very strong. Highest number in almost 10 years. But then we heard that the FDA had paused the Johnson & Johnson dose. That caused Wall Street to react on the negative side, saying that the economic rebound may be paused because of this news. Carnival, Norwegian down on the early trading of the day. Marriott and Hilton trading down on the concern that we may not be reopening as quickly as possible. But the president was quick to roll out Dr. Fauci in a press briefing. Let's listen in to what the president's doctor said and his team about the FDA announcement
the
today.
content of the announcement until this morning when everyone else read it. As soon as we got that, our team farmed out and started contacting folks to make sure that everyone knew that that was now announced by the FDA and CDC. Tuesday is the day that I have my regular governor's call, so that was fortunate that that was at 11 a.m. So we had all the governors already lined up with their teams, and we had Drs. Fauci and Drs. Walensky join that call, and the teams will continue to support the statewide efforts, the federal channels, the community health centers to make the adjustments. So I think the message got out very clearly and quickly. There was no heads up here. The announcement was made this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Just two quick ones. The first one, and you might not have the answer to this, do we have a timeline in terms of how long this is going to, are we talking days before it might get flipped back on, or a week? And then second one for Jeff, if you don't mind, I understand what you're saying on the macro level related to supply, but when you talk to local officials, the J&J shot, because of storage, because it was one shot, was considered a crucial component in rural areas and kind of underserved communities. How does that not affect the timeline that you guys are on in terms of actually getting shots in arms?
During one of the questions which was asked, I believe, of the CDC, the question was just yours, and I don't know what they're going to be doing. What I heard from the previous press discussion was it's going to be more like days to weeks rather than weeks to months.
We have plenty of supply, and we have plenty of vehicles for delivering that supply, whether it's through the federal pharmacy channel, whether it's mobile units, community health centers, and all of those are equipped to deliver the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. So we'll make sure that those units continue to grow in number, because you're right, we need to reach people where they are, and the mobile units and the community health centers are particularly essential for those. And they have been receiving Moderna and Pfizer doses since we began both those programs.
So it's no different, you just swap out the vaccine if it was a mass vaccination center or if it was a mobile unit going to a rural area?
Now, the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, as you know, are 2-dose vaccines. Right. So it's important that people come back for their second dose, 3 weeks post their first dose of Pfizer and 4 weeks post their first dose of Moderna. But all of our units, all of our delivery channels are equipped to deliver both Pfizer and Moderna.
And just real quick, how does this not contribute to, those are the very areas where hesitancy, I think, is most predominant at this point in time based on what you guys have seen? Do you have to change your message? Do you have to do something different to address hesitancy in the wake of something like this?
No, I think we need to continue to be transparent about what the science is telling us. That's what brings us here today. There's, as Dr. Fauci said, there's been tens of millions of doses of Pfizer and Moderna administered over the last several months, and millions of people, both in the U.S. and around the world, have been safely vaccinated. I think it's important that we have here the FDA, and the FDA is the gold standard for ensuring the safety and the effectiveness of the vaccines. And today's action, I think, is clear evidence that they're taking every step necessary to ensure the American people have clear and transparent information about the safety and effectiveness of these vaccines. So the bottom line is the vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, that are now being administered are clearly safe and are saving lives, and every American should get vaccinated when it's their turn.
Thanks, Jeff.
Here's what you need to know as we start the afternoon is that ultimately there's a series of issues bigger than just Johnson & Johnson being paused. The issues at hand is, does this give more support for forced stimulus or not? It does. At issue is not so much what's happening with Johnson & Johnson, it's what's happening to the reaction to the news of Johnson & Johnson. Immediately upon the news of Johnson & Johnson, travel industry, hospitality industry companies lost market share. The thought, people got out of the shares of those companies on the belief that the reopening of the economy will not happen as quickly and as fast and as robustly as initially thought. Now, whether or not that's correct or not correct, that's the perception at the moment. And that perception helps your push for multiple stimulus checks, helps your push for forced stimulus. As we started the new day, immediately the reaction was, oh, this is going to stall the economy's reopening. And that's what we saw immediately in the shares of travel industry companies. Carnival and Norwegian, the cruise industry leaders, down 2% at the start of the market today on the Johnson & Johnson news. The impact of Johnson & Johnson on the hotel industry immediately felt, down 1%. Marriott, down Hilton, other hospitality hotels as well, down for the day. And this came with a doubling down as well for the FANG. FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google are stocks that did well during the lockdown, during the pandemic of 2020. And people got out of the Carnivals and the Norwegians today and got back into the FANG stocks on belief that the economy may stall, may not reopen as quickly as possible on the news of Johnson & Johnson. Again, it's not for you and I to guess whether this economic prediction is right or wrong. It's to analyze how it impacts you. And it impacts you in a positive way. Ultimately, when you see economic factors not showing support for this economy, that's more reason to give stimulus. We started the day with that strong consumer price index number, a very strong number, showing incredible growth, the most growth for the CPI number in 10 years. It follows on the heels of last Friday, the PPI number, the producer price index number, highest number in 9.5 years. Those don't support stimulus because when you see too much growth, people may not want to give you stimulus. Well, today we saw the antithesis as the Johnson & Johnson news caused Wall Street, caused economists to think, we're not rebounding quick enough, and we may get stalled now with this Johnson & Johnson situation. It's important to understand that there really is an issue at play, and it's timeline for your fourth stimulus. Two major issues at time. First, when will the push and the determination for reconciliation be finalized? And second, when will the bill be voted upon? The second one, I think, is a message that I perhaps haven't delivered clear enough. I think some viewers thought, well, this bill is going to get voted upon in July. I could just sit back and listen about it in June. No. The push really starts today because you need the bill to go to reconciliation now. If it doesn't go to reconciliation, the path for stimulus gets derailed. The path for stimulus checks gets derailed because a bipartisan bill would not have a stimulus check in there. Republicans are not going to give you a stimulus check. You want the bill to go by reconciliation. When does the reconciliation process start? It starts 2 months ahead of time because it takes 2 months. Well, when is the final vote going to happen? Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi say the vote will happen in July. Count back 2 months. You're about now. So you want the bill to get going by reconciliation in the next few weeks. Ultimately, the president has had those bipartisan meetings over the last 2 days. But it's important to understand that the Johnson & Johnson news today may mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But for purposes of the perception of the economy right now, where 20-something states, 50% of the United States, showing resurgence of the COVID-19 cases, it shows that we need stimulus. We're not out of this. Let's listen more to what that press conference said.
To follow all that we've learned about who people trust, their local doctor, their nurse, their faith leader. And I think that, there's tremendous track record, as Dr. Fauci has talked about, with tens of millions of doses of Pfizer and Moderna. The FDA acting the way they did today, shows that they are indeed the gold standard, and I think that should reassure the American public that they will be very diligent and conservative in how they approach the vaccines.
So the argument is that because the FDA, this tripwire was triggered, that should give Americans more confidence in the overall vaccination plan.
Certainly around how safety and efficacy are being monitored by the gold standard folks at the FDA.
Okay, let's do these three more, and then we'll let them go back. Go ahead.
Jeff, you said the FDA is the gold standard for ensuring the safety and efficacy of vaccines. To what extent does today's news add urgency to the effort of getting a permanent nominee confirmed to head the FDA? You know, clearly it's always an important post, but how much of a spotlight does this news now
I
shine?
have no personnel announcement to make today. The FDA has an extraordinary group of scientists and experts that lead these types of efforts.
How helpful would a permanent director be in those efforts?
I think that the FDA does an extraordinary job, and the teams that are addressing these issues are experienced teams. In fact, the acting director is a very experienced leader. So I think the experience of the FDA and the expertise of the FDA is indeed the gold standard.
Go ahead.
Are there any immediate plans to accommodate the states because of this pause? And can you guarantee that every person who had a reservation canceled will get rescheduled in a matter of days?
Yeah, as I said, I think there's already in certain locations people who are scheduled for today.
Certainly before today, you had heard on this channel the graphic that I delivered over the weekend that showed there was problems getting Johnson & Johnson doses out. Remember, Johnson & Johnson doses are very small compared to the entire number of doses administered in the United States per day. The United States, with Moderna and Pfizer, administers millions of doses per day. Look how many Johnson & Johnson doses were done last week alone. The whole week, they only had 5 million. This week, going into this Monday, before the news broke today, Johnson & Johnson was having problems of only delivering 700,000 doses. This was the Baltimore facility. Going into Monday, states like New York, California, and Florida were expecting to have 5 million doses of Johnson & Johnson. Rather, they're going to show an 89% drop of the doses available this week because of the problem with the Baltimore plant. Ironically, it has now become sort of a saving grace because those doses are not in circulation currently. Multiple stimulus checks have a time horizon. And that time horizon, I think some viewers have been focusing too much on the July date, thinking that the bill starts in July and finishes in July. No. This is not a bill. This is a reconciliation process. This two-step process that starts 2 months earlier. And that is where it's important to understand that ultimately there's two issues always at point, which is what are you putting in the bill and what are you voting in the bill? Well, you're putting in the bill what you want when you write the bill, and then you're voting on the bill based upon what you want in the bill. It causes a little bit of confusion, so let me clarify it for viewers of this channel. The bill is not written by the president. It's proposed. The proposal is proposed by the president. Nancy Pelosi's team sends to the House floor a reconciliation bill, which doesn't have any substance in it. It says we agree to do a reconciliation. That takes a few weeks. House, Senate, President. Then they go back, and then they do the second part. This is the tow hitch. The first part's a tow truck. Now they do the tow hitch, and they decide, what are we going to put in there? At that point, you want the economy not rebounded. You don't want the jobs restored. You don't want the unemployment claims dropping. You don't want the reopening of the economy so robust that people may say, stimulus? What do you mean stimulus? You want the economy to, in essence, mirror the need for stimulus. And that is when they write the bill. They write the substance. They determine what's on the tow hitch. That is then going through the subcommittees of the House. That takes about a week or two. Remember how long all that Representative Neal had of Ways and Means and his modifications, how long that took? And then they called it for a vote. Then it goes over to the Senate. At that point, the senators, if there is no stimulus checks in there at that point, they're putting them in by reconciliation. That's in essence the time at which the stimulus checks may first take their pen to paper during the reconciliation process when the bill is in the vote-a-rama event of 2 days in the Senate. It's at that point you still want the economy to be suggestive that it needs stimulus. See how this happens? It becomes a big issue to get it to reconciliation. Then after it starts the reconciliation process, you still want that support to be there for stimulus. And then when it gets to the Senate and they do the vote-a-rama, that's when you want the big support and the reasoning from this economy to get stimulus out the door. Because if you don't have that support then, boy, the big issue across the board is what would happen if you don't have that stimulus. Coming up later in this recording, we'll cut back more to what's at issue. But let's listen in more about what the press secretary had to say about today's announcement.
Post-childbirth, as well as their work in advocacy and research, highlighting the disparities that Black women face in maternal health. I think this actually started around 12:30, so I should say the event is ongoing. We also announced initial actions we are taking to address the maternal health crisis in the United States, including significant funding to reduce maternal mortality and morbidity rates, improve health equity, and race-based disparities nationwide, the approval of the first Medicaid Section 1115 waiver in Illinois to broadly extend postpartum coverage. This approval will help ensure access to vital healthcare services, promote better health outcomes, and reduce the rate of maternal morbidity and mortality. And obviously, this is an issue we will continue to work hard on. I also just wanted to highlight that we're also hosting today a virtual small business briefing on the American Jobs Plan. Small Business Administrator, newly confirmed, Isabel Guzman, will join the event with thousands of small business owners to highlight how the American Jobs Plan supports small business. The plan that the President has proposed provides direct support to small businesses by increasing access to federal contracts and investing more than $110 billion in financing and technical assistance programs. As you know, the President also attended a congressional tribute for U.S. Capitol Office.
And that is important news because I've been telling you throughout the last 24 hours that there's big breaking developments at SBA. The first breaking developments is that the remainder of your $10,000 EIDL grant is hidden. If you applied in 2020 for an EIDL grant, they're paying it out. They're sending those emails for invite to get the remainder of your $10,000 grant. They're not coming in chronological order. They are not coming in chronological order. You're only hearing that from this channel. So the application window originally in 2020 was March to May for the grant, and then in July for 2 weeks. If you applied any time during that entire process, watch that email because it's coming. And the turnaround time is very short. After they get through those low-income based community businesses, then they're going to do everyone else. Next, the shuttered venue grant's about to go live, if it's not live already today. It was live on Friday, then crashed, and it's coming back up. The PPP grant is now live again. You apply for Fundera Cabbage for those. And the EIDL loan is still live. So if you need a loan and you have a business and you need assistance, go get that EIDL loan. It has a 48-hour turnaround. Finally, if you had an EIDL loan before and you wanted to increase it, you can do it. That increase now went live about 2 weeks ago. So a lot of big, exciting news across the board. Let's jump in and see what else the press secretary had to say during today's briefing.
They discussed a number of regional and global issues, including the intent of the United States and Russia to pursue a strategic stability dialogue on a range of arms control and emerging security issues, building on the extension of the New START treaty. President Biden also made clear that the United States will act firmly in defense of its national interests in response to Russia's actions, such as cyber intrusions and election interference. And he also emphasized the United States' unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The president voiced our concerns over the sudden Russian military buildup and increasing aggression on the border of Ukraine.
Also, surprisingly making news yesterday was the president's support, again, for this economy and stimulus. The president's team was asked about the Jerome Powell interview on CBS 60 Minutes on Sunday, in which Powell said it's highly unlikely the Federal Reserve would raise interest rates this year, and that the Federal Reserve will continue to support the economy as long as it takes to complete the recovery. Well, the good news is that while the CPI number came in today very strong, it's not something to cause big inflationary worries. And the initial reaction to the CPI was that it was strong. It was good, as I told you it would be, the consumer price index. It came in at 2.5%, the highest number year to date since August of 2018. It's an enormous jump, but it's not so huge that people are worried. Michael Pierce of Capital Economics said it's a clear indication of mounting inflation, but it's not indication of inflation. It's just mounting inflation. Meantime, there's continuing worries about a series of bubbles that may be around the corner. A new Bank of America survey today said that there may be a bubble in the cryptocurrency. 74% of surveyed people responded to Bank of America and said that there may be a bubble for crypto about to burst. We'll see whether that's true or false tomorrow when Coinbase has its IPO, which is expected to double, expected to go through the roof, and there's not expected to be any bubble worries tomorrow. So we see a lot of conflicting news, and also conflicting is the worries about the housing market. A new report today says that the housing market and when will the housing market crash was the number one search term last month. When will the housing market crash? Well, ultimately, it's not crashing just yet. And $12 ice cream is not going down in price either. I mean, darn it. When were they going to bring down that $12 ice cream? It's just so overpriced. Can it be at least, on sale for $11.99 for a day? But ultimately, when you hear a lot of concerns of things bursting, worries about things bubbling, worried about things about to fall flatter than a San Francisco hairstyle. When every time you hear those things, then ultimately you worry, is there actually truth to the matter? And if there's truth to the matter, then you need stimulus. Ultimately, as the economy sort of goes left and right, people are trying to determine where it's heading. And people just don't know. What's important to understand is that speed is your issue to get stimulus out the board. You don't want economic rebounding to occur, and you don't want jobs to be restored. Who's going to get this forced stimulus? It would be you. If you make less than $75,000, if it's a household of four or less, if you're on SSI and SSDI, Social Security and Railroad benefits, this would be you. And the big amount of money, wow, it's so huge. You want to get behind this. It's the biggest payout we have ever seen for any subject matter on this channel. If they got the bill to a law in July, remember, to a law in July, not to a bill, but to a law in July. That would give you 6 months of checks if it was the senators. Remember, the House members want to give you checks till next year. And $2,000 a month, $1,400 a month, either way, this is an enormous sum of money for an individual. It's an enormous sum of money for an individual. You want to get behind it because Purple Power, now is the time to push. Now is the time to push. I've been imploring viewers to really push right now. I don't want you to be apathetic. I don't want you to cash that $1,400 third stimulus check and say, thank you, I'll see you in July. No, you won't see me in July, because if you turn away and come back in July, there may not be a stimulus package. The push needs to be done now. You need the bill to reconciliation. That is step number one. You need the bill to reconciliation first. And the time to get it to reconciliation is over the next 2-something weeks. It's a 2-month process, and ultimately 2 months needs to get done so that the bill can be voted on, as Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi want it to be done, by July. And there you go. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I don't want you to miss a single video across the board. It's our birthday month here on this channel. We're trying to get to 400,000 subscribers. So give us a subscribe. Also, like this video. If you've not liked this video, please do. Every like really, really helps in the algorithm rankings. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. You want access to the big PDFs and access to the documents that make you money. These are the bills, these are the laws. Before anything else, I deliver them as soon as they happen across the board. The link to become a member is in the top of the chat and also in the pinned comment. Coming up next is Evenings LALATE at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is a big surprise. The return of Javita Light. Get your scarf ready. The TJ Maxx 2-for-1 sale is on, so get that scarf ready. She is back with a doubleheader tonight. It is 2 shows, one at 10 o'clock and another one at 10:30. Just watch the first one, stay there, don't leave when it's over, and the channel literally teleports you, takes you to the next video. You don't have to do anything. Just hold that $12 ice cream or that $2 ice cream, and it'll take you to the next video. Thank you for joining me on a big afternoon's LALATE. If again, stay informed, stay focused, keep on smiling, and always stay positive. I will see you tonight on Evenings LALATE. It's going to be a big show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And with that, stay informed, stay focused, and stay LALATE for more.